very good morning to you, my dear viewer, from wherever you are watching us from. We are coming to you live from the studios of Elevate TV Kenya in the city of Nairobi. And today we have a wonderful guest on the show today. And if you've ever wondered about money matters, retirement, asset management, today I ask you to just stay there and listen and watch. And I'm sure there's something you're going to learn. So today we have our guest in the show, Annete James, who's going to be talking to us about asset management, offshore financial planning, pensions and retirement, and she's the director of the School of Retirement. And if I miss something, of course, she's gonna clarify that. And so welcome to the show, Annete. Welcome, Kabisa.
Thank you so much. I think just to clarify,
yes,
I'm the director of studies at the School of Pension and Retirement Studies.
Yes.
We have the main director and the founder of School of Pensions. So I'm on the aspect of studies. So I'm the director of studies.
All right.
Yes, and I have a vast experience in the financial markets, or rather the financial sector.
Yeah.
Having worked in an asset management company, a bit on offshore, the pensions industry, and now doing the, consultancy business as far as pensions is concerned.
All right.
And I'm happy to be here.
Well, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
And of course, let me ask, when we talk about the studies, because that is something that probably I'd missed because I'm just thinking the director bit. Mm-hmm. When you talk about studies, people come to the school to study about advising people on retirement?
Not necessarily. Mm-hmm. What we do is that we put together programs where we train members of pension schemes, trustees of pension schemes, or anybody related to the pension sector. Oh. And not only that, even the financial aspect, we have trainings where we take people through financial management. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about studies, it's basically you putting together either a curriculum or a training program that can run for a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks. We also, like, I remember we had a training of trainer program, which we did in Burundi and Rwanda. And this was done in collaboration with the East African community. Okay. So we came together, they invited us, and were able to come up with a curriculum. Yeah. And my boss went all the way to Rwanda and Burundi to train them on aspects of pension. Awesome. So it's us putting together programs which we feel like when we see a gap. If I can talk about the School of Pension and Retirement Studies, basically, we use the blue ocean strategy. Yeah. So in other words, there's a section that is has been taken up in the pension sector. Yeah. So we look at that section that has been left out and focus on it, because that's where the need is. Okay. So we look at the pension sector, the financial sector, then we look at what value addition can we give, what can we bring that is different, what can we add to members of pension schemes, to trustees. And so we come in with training programs which we feel will be able to equip members of pension schemes, trustees, and anybody who's working within the pension sector, so that at the end of the day, because the goal of retirement is to ensure that you retire as in a dignified manner. Yeah, true. Because retirement is a very big issue. You know, the aspects of old age poverty. Yeah. It's not very good. Right now, it's not a guarantee that much as you're educating your children, when they come out, they're going to find jobs. They'll take care of you. So you find that even in old age, you still have part of your children at home. Yeah. And not because they want to be at home, but just because of circumstances out there, they're still trying to get their footing. And the way the systems in Africa are. Exactly. The levels of unemployment. Yeah. So even if they're starting out on business, they still need a place where they can take off from. Yes. So it's not guaranteed that if you retire, that your children can actually be a retirement plan. Definitely. So just even sensitizing people who are working to let them know that you need to make a conscious decision about your retirement life. How do you want it to look like, and what changes can you start making right now to ensure that that picture that you have in the future, you actually actualize it, you make it a reality for yourself. Awesome. Yeah. And I'll be asking you more questions in regard to retirement later on, because many people don't. In fact, from my random survey, rarely people don't want to have that discussion. Yes. But I think today it's a very good time, and especially for the young, not for the old. Because when you're preparing for a journey, you don't prepare for the journey on the day you're leaving. You prepare way before. So I consider the young the ones that should be preparing for this journey, because the old are already there. But that will come later. Now, talking about investments, it's a big word, it's a loaded word. And from the general perspective of Kenyans especially, when you hear the word investment,
what comes to people's minds immediately is 50 by 100. So we limit ourselves to land. And no wonder there's been this craze, and if you watch most TV stations, there is a 50 by 100 here, 50 by 100 at a mashinani. Nowadays there are 50 by 100s or a quarter, depending on how much money you have. So please unpack for us this thing of investment, because we've been boxed into thinking investment is a 50 by 100. And there's no problem with buying a 50 by 100, but what if you buy it, then 10 years, 5 years down the line, you've not done anything with it, and maybe it cost you $1 million plus. So unpack a bit this thing of investment. What is investment?
If I can summarize very, very briefly and very simply, investments is basically your money working for you. Let's look at it from an employee's perspective. You go to work a whole month, and you get your salary at the end of the month. So when you get your money, then you have got bills to pay and all that. But investments, in just a nutshell, is your money working for you. Basically, the question is, how can I make my money work for me? Because you see, the reason why we keep going to work, unless, of course, you have found where you're working is your passion, then they say once you have found your passion, then you cease to work because you enjoy what you're doing. But you'll find that 70% of the people basically go to work because they have to go to work. So it means that you, and sometimes if you really think about it, it can make you feel like a slave, because you're going there because you have to go to work, but not because you want to go to work. So investments is basically your money working for you, and the ultimate result is for you to be financially independent. And when you say financially independent, let me take the likes of the late Chris Kirubi. Chris Kirubi did not have to go to work. He had people working for him. He had set up a business which eventually grew. And now, you know, if he wanted to take even a holiday for 4 months, he can be able to do that. And that's really financial independence, that I'm doing whatever I'm doing because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. So investment makes you look for avenues aside from the 50 by 100, where now you make your money work for you. And even as an employee, you can do it. We have avenues where you can allow your money, much as you're working an 8 to 5 job for somebody, whatever it is you're earning, if you plan it well, then ultimately, even as you're working on this side, you're building income streams which are independent of your salary. Because as the adage says, you know, putting all your eggs in one basket, that means the only amount of money you're relying on is your salary. So God forbid, if your work stops today, then it means that a big aspect of your life, has also stopped. So investment gives you that opportunity to create different income streams, which can come to you at different points in your life. That's why when it comes to investments, you have short term, you have medium term, you have long term. So that the short term investments actually come to assist you in your short-term needs. Maybe things like school fees, you know.
The basics.
Yeah, basically the basics. Medium-term, long-term now becomes things like maybe you want to build a house, you've bought a house. So, you know, just making investments towards that. So investment in a nutshell is just your money working for you.
Now that sounds like a magic word for somebody that's earning maybe 30,000 and they cannot make ends meet. Maybe for someone that's earning way more, that makes sense. So if someone is watching and they're thinking, even before, my money ends before the month. So I have more month left before. I mean, more month left than money. So how do you, now let's talk about the details, the practicalities. I earn maybe 40 to 50. Let's give it that range. So how does my money work for me when I cannot even meet my basic needs? Because we don't want to feel like we're only talking to the person that has extras.
Okay, the first thing I would like, like for the person I would say who's earning 30, 40, it's not really how much money you earn. It's not that. It's how much you keep that determines your financial future.
All right.
As you were introducing me, I told you I used to work in an asset management company. And I remember one time a gentleman came to us, and at that time he was earning 700,000.
Wow.
That was like in 2005. And he came to us frantically and he said, I'm at the level where I even borrow money from my driver. And then when he was talking to us where I was working, I was earning like 45,000.
Wow.
And I was looking at this man and I'm thinking,
what would
with
I
your
do
salary,
with this?
what I'll do with your money.
Seriously.
So when we sat with him and we began to go through his lifestyle, basically, we actually came to find out on a good weekend, Friday all the way to Sunday, he would spend a minimum of 100,000.
Wow.
So it's not really how much you earn, but how much you keep. And the foundation of your financial life is basically you as the person. It's your habits, it's your day-to-day habits. When money comes to your hand, what do you do with it? And then what do you see?
Yes.
How do you plan your finances?
Yeah.
Sometimes you really have to look at what you have and tell yourself the truth.
Yeah.
I'm looking at somebody who's earning, say, 40,000 shillings. Let's even assume the person is married. And maybe they have one child.
Yeah.
The only person who should eat 3 square meals is that child, not you and your spouse. Because in reality, you can actually survive on 2 meals or 1 meal.
That's not being frugal. That's not being mean to yourself.
Let me tell you, the rich are where they are because they are frugal.
Wow.
You don't have to eat 3 square meals. You don't have to, by the way. You don't have to. And even right now, most people are doing intermittent fasting. It's really that.
Yeah.
Where they're eating at particular hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they eat that 1 meal.
Yeah.
And you see, the fact that you're doing it right now does not mean you'll do it forever.
It's true.
So it's your habit as a person,
Yeah.
looking at what you want to achieve, telling yourself that I may do this for 1 year,
Yeah.
but it won't be forever.
Right.
I remember one time I had gone to, I had identified a piece of land and I wanted to buy. So when I thought about it, I was like, land is good. So I was like, let me go and borrow money from a bank, get a loan, buy the piece of land, because of course, like you said, 50 by 100, and from an African perspective, we actually value land.
Right.
In fact, when you buy land, people look at you like you've made a major investment in your life.
Yeah.
So
You're a land owner.
So the only amount of money I needed at that time, roughly around 600,000.
Yeah.
So when I went with my pay slip, the lady, you know, when you go to the loans desk, just like we are seated, you sit on this side, she sits on the other side. So when she saw my pay slip, she's like, she took me to another room where she was playing soft music, and she gave me tea and cake. She had not served me tea and cake when I was sitting on this side. So then she told me, you want a loan of 600,000, but when I look at your pay slip, you can take a loan of 1.2 million.
With 45,000?
No, that was now much later, after my salary had gone up.
Okay.
And so when I looked at it and I sat down, so she said, let me give you a moment to think about it. She gave me about roughly 15 to 20 minutes. So the interesting thing, and I normally say this is God, because I sat down and I began to write down my expenditure for the month.
Yeah.
How much money do I really spend on food, on hair, on transport, on airtime? And when I began to document, I actually took only 3 things. Food, because we're on Gong Road, I used to spend roughly 300,000. You know, at tea break, you buy 300 shillings. You know, at tea break, you buy to mandazi here and there. Roughly, you spend about 100 bob.
Right.
Then lunch, around 200 shillings. So in a day, I was spending 300 shillings. In a week, Monday to Friday, that's 1,500.
Yeah.
Then, when it comes to transport, I was driving to work, fueling the car, roughly 500 shillings a day.
Yeah.
In a week, that's 2,500 plus 1,500, that's 4,000.
Yeah, because on Sundays probably you're not.
You know, we never used to work over the weekends. Weekends used to come if you had, you know, backlog.
Yeah.
Now, when I take 4,000 shillings and I multiply by 52 weeks in a year, that's 208,000.
Wow.
So I asked myself, if I'm to cut back on driving to work and on food, that means I'm not buying food, I carry food to work.
Yeah.
I'd be able to save 208,000. Those are only 2 things I looked at.
2 only?
2.
And we are not talking about impulse buying.
No.
You know, the way we meet.
We've not even gone to that. We're just talking about meals,
nice tops and
transport. And then I decided also for hair to scale it down. Right now we have ladies who wear wigs, which are the cost of a shamba somewhere.
Oh, Lord.
I mean, a wig of 100,000. The best I'll do is tell you, Anne, you look beautiful. I love your hair.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I may not remember it because I have my own things that I'm thinking about.
That's right.
So it's a question of what do you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And so when you know what you want to achieve, number 1, write it down, because anything that's in your head you can't really remember.
Yeah.
But when you put down and say, this is where I want to see myself in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So in that 1 year, I told myself, let me scale down and see what what will actually happen.
Yes.
I began carrying food to work, and I stopped using the vehicle from Monday to Friday. So, you know, when you leave very early in the morning, you don't spend much.
Because, first of all, let me get this right. It's because you had a target.
I had a target.
There's something you wanted to do.
I wanted to see how much I could save.
Wow.
And so, and also on hair and nails, I scaled back.
And that didn't run down your car also, because that would be
I used to use the car over
expense.
the weekend.
All right.
That's
all
Saturday and Sunday. Sunday going to church on Saturday. Then in the evening, I just, you know, like drive it in the estate and bring it, just, you know, just to study. But I was also thinking, this car sitting here, what else can I do with it?
That's right.
Yeah. So in 1 year, I actually managed to save, out of just doing that, about 232,000.
Wow.
Just cutting back that.
Yeah.
And interestingly, a friend to a friend was retrenched. And so when they are retrenched, somebody told him that if you give me 100,000, I'll be able to get you a job in a certain place. So he decided to sell his land, which he had bought at almost 400,000 at a throwaway price.
Oh my.
So he came to me and said, I have land, and if you just give me 210,000 cash,
You have it.
you have it. So we did the due process for the land. Everything was clean. The title was clean. There's no incumbent on the title. And remember, I had
You
gone to take a loan.
600.
Yes, 600.
Yeah.
And so I left taking the loan. I said, let me first take this. Land is not running anywhere.
Yeah.
I can still get another piece of land.
Yeah.
So I got a better piece of land at 210,000.
My goodness.
I didn't have to take a loan. I paid for the
You
land
didn't borrow?
cash.
You
I
didn't
didn't
borrow?
borrow. So even when your salary is coming, there's nothing like a certain percentage is going to.
Yeah.
And then I remember what happened during the COVID period. Yeah, some people were unable to service their loans because maybe they lost jobs or they had to take pay cuts, serious pay cuts.
Yeah.
So when you look at yourself, it's the foundation of finance is really you.
It's you.
It's your habits, your day-to-day habits.
Yeah.
There are those people who sit in a jam and somebody's bringing soda you have bought. Right now, the PEP plastic bottle is around 80 shillings. So imagine if you take soda every day, that's 80 shillings in a day for 5 days.
It's not even good for your health.
No,
Let's go there
that's
first.
already 400,000 shillings.
Yeah.
On Tuesday, we have pizza, buy one, get one free.
Yeah.
And when you buy the pizza, because it's bread, itakunyonga.
Yeah.
Sindio?
Yeah.
So you'll have to buy a soda to accompany it, another unhealthy choice.
Yeah.
So you spend, okay, now buy one, get one free is about 12.50. At least that I know, because my daughter is always on my case, mom. 12.50.
Yes.
If you bring in soda, which is 300 chilies, that's 1,500.
Yeah.
If you do it every week, it means in a month or 4 weeks, you spend 6,000 shillings.
6,000. And now, before you proceed there, there's a statement you made that still sticks in my mind that for every pizza you buy, maybe the large one, that's a bag of cement.
In fact, it's more than, it's 2 bags of cement if you think about it. 1,500, that's 2 bags.
Yeah. And we are not killjoys, yeah? You know, killjoys is like, go buy this from bent down boutique, you know, bent down, where you have to look at 10 before you choose which one you want to pick. No. But when you mentioned a pizza, one pizza is now currently 2 bags of cement.
Yes.
It makes you think how much, I mean, how many people live in rental houses and yet they could actually be on they call it the rento of their house. They've already done the foundation, they've lifted the house. And not that they earn much, but that slight saving can actually take you to the next level. In
fact, there's a story I read of a lady, and this really inspired me. A lady who sells chips. Not the fast foods of McFry's.
Yes.
In fact, we call them chipomwitu.
Yeah.
Where
that's
they can,
what I hear the youngsters
where I can actually, you can buy chips for 20 bob, for 30 bob, for 40 bob. So there are different ranges.
Yeah.
You know, in town, you'll go and buy chips and it's 100 bob.
Yeah.
So you can't go to McFry's and say, I want chips for 20 bob. They won't give you.
No.
So this lady, in 9 years, she has built her house, which is worth almost 5 million shillings.
No loan from any bank?
No loan. All she did, she got into an agreement with a hardware person. And so as she used to make money, she would go and deposit.
Okay.
So she had already secured a piece of land somewhere. So from that deposit, she started building.
Yeah.
Pole pole too, pole pole.
Yeah.
She's now in her own house and still selling her chips.
Can you imagine? She's no longer a tenant.
So when you tell me that you're earning 30,000 shillings and that you cannot invest, I say no. That's a mindset that you need to get rid of.
You need to go back to the drawing board.
In fact, I'm so glad that we are at the beginning of the month. Begin documenting where you spend your money.
That's a powerful one.
So even if you buy a sweet worth 10 shillings, write it down.
Wow.
Because you know, it's not in the big amounts. If say I earn 40,000 and I live in a house where I'm paying 15,000 or 10,000, when the 10,000 leaves my account, I can feel it.
Yeah.
Because that's like a quarter of my money. I feel it.
Yeah.
But if 10 shillings leaves your account,
it's negligible.
It's negligible.
Yeah.
But that is where your riches are. Think about what Jesus did when he fed the 5,000 people. He said, gather the fragments so that there should be no waste.
And by the way, that word, it may seem like a slight thing. But Jesus, there's a message Jesus was telling the people. Don't just leave things anyhow.
Yes.
Gather
the fragments. Those to 10 shillings. Yeah. If you have like a small mkebe in the house, you know, weka your 10 bobapu, you'll be amused.
And you know, that reminds me of something. I don't remember who said this, but they said how you treat money. You know the way people, kwa nyumba 10 bob zimeanguka, you just leave them scattered? That tells you what value you have for money. But for every coin that's scattered somewhere, gather it, put it. It says a lot.
It says a lot.
Your value for money.
It says. And you know, think of the people who are given talents. The one who was given 10 talents, went and did something with it, came back. 5, the same. Then the one who had 1, out of fear, because most of the time people don't invest because they fear or they have no knowledge.
Right.
So aside from looking at yourself as a person, the next thing you must go for is knowledge.
Yes.
Don't just take what people are telling you. Go and actually find out for yourself. Like, I mean, the government introduced Emakiba. Emakiba, with just 3,000 shillings, you can be able to partake on the infrastructure bond, which gives you at least 10% return on interest.
How much? What is the minimum one?
3,000 shillings. So you want to tell me even if you earn 30,000, you cannot put aside 3,000 shillings?
So, because many people are not, probably majority, let me say that, they're not knowledgeable on financial matters. For example, the Emakiba, when you put in the 3,000, what is the time frame for you to ever benefit?
6 months, 3 months.
Is there addition?
And you know what the interesting thing is, because you are investing from your M-Pesa, the interest comes back to your M-Pesa. So money comes to you directly once the bond has matured.
So you can reinvest?
You can reinvest. And in fact, I like
money.
what you have said, reinvest the money. That is where the challenge is. Most of the time we get the money and then we don't reinvest. So, and the reason why I'm talking about knowledge is like you said when we were starting, if you ask most Kenyans about investments, they think about land.
Yes.
Land is not the only, it's a good one, but it's not the only investment.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And also depending on where you buy land. I use this example, it's an unfortunate one, but it's the reality. Remember the post-election violence?
Yes.
There are people who had bought land in Eldoret and all those areas, which Naivasha, you know, the hotspots.
Yes.
And some are not able to go back because the place is hostile, or even if they went back, they just went to sell the land.
Yeah.
And
at
probably at a throwaway price,
you
know.
Yeah.
The houses they had built were burnt. So land is good, but it's important for you to diversify. And also, when you have land and if you have an unfortunate event where you have a health condition and you need money, you'll have to sell the land at a throwaway price. But if you have other investments like shares or bonds, you can be able to liquidate it. So when it comes to investment, some of the things you have to look at is the ability to liquidate this asset. How fast can you liquidate it? Land is good, but it takes time. There's a process, stamp duty, all those due diligence.
A long process.
By the time you do it, probably the person has passed on
or their need is met. They got another...
their need is met, or it's unfortunate, you can't do anything about it anymore. But if you have diversified your investments, there are certain investments that you can quickly sell in a week, 2 weeks, and be able to get the money.
So when you talk about shares, people that, let me call them middle class and lower bracket, can they invest in shares? The group I was telling you about that sometimes, it's about meeting the daily needs. They don't have this huge surplus of money. Can they invest in that?
Yes, they can. In fact, the most interesting thing about Kenya is that we really believe in chamas, but we have not given our chamas direction.
Oh, right.
Maybe every month to this chama I remove 1,000, to that chama 500 shillings. But one day as a chama, can you sit down and say, okay, now we'll not be taking this money.
Yeah.
Let's actually make investments with this money. Because sometimes somebody will say, I don't have enough money to buy shares.
Yeah.
When it comes to shares, it's just you, because the minimum is 100 shares. 100, depending on the price of the share. 100 shares. So you go and, you know, register and get a CDC account where your shares will act. You know, it's like opening a bank account, so that when you buy shares, they're actually allocated to that account.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go online or if you go, you know, to any stockbroker, they can be able to show you that you've got this number of shares.
All right.
Now it's good to invest in shares because, yes, we call them the high growth assets. That means you can make a lot of money out of it, and you can also make serious losses out of it.
So it's possible you make losses?
So when you're thinking shares, I would encourage anybody to think long term.
Long term, eh?
Not this short term, like 1 year, 2 years. Think long term.
All right.
Let me give an example. When Safaricom came as an IPO, it traded at 5 shillings.
Yeah.
And then when now, you know, like everyone had subscribed and shares were given, most people didn't get the number of shares they wanted. And people took loans to buy Safaricom shares after what they experienced with Kengen. Because Kengen was such a success and people made money out of it. So this was Safaricom is also going to be just like Kengen. So people took shares because they're like, this share is going to grow. Safaricom is a very profitable company. So people took loans, they went and bought shares. So whatever remained was given back to them. So you were saying if you want a check, M-Pesa to your account, things like that. So when the money came back to you, what did you do with it?
Of course, people maybe bought some, you know, stuff.
You probably spent it because you had no plan for it.
Yeah.
But had you waited a bit, put that money somewhere in a fixed deposit and just waited. Do you know the Safaricom share came back from 5 shillings to about 2 shillings and 50 cents.
Oh my.
In fact, for purposes of example here, imagine if you're taking a loan of 150,000. And then maybe you were able to get shares worth 50,000. So they gave you back 100. If you just waited a bit, and assume that Safaricom came down to 2 shillings. With 100,000, you'd have bought how many shares?
Wow.
Let's even leave the management fees aside. That's about 50,000.
Wow.
That's Safaricom at 2 shillings. Today, Safaricom is trading at almost 40 shillings.
Oh my goodness.
So 50,000 shillings multiplied by 40, that's almost 2 million.
Oh Lord. I don't even know what to say. We're gonna go on a break, and please follow us on Facebook and also share the link to a friend out there so that they can learn something about these matters. We'll be right back after the break.
Today, we are going to learn about obedience.
Obedience is respect for others.
Wow, we need to obey God. Number 2, who else do you think we should obey? Yes, Joshua?
We should also obey our elders.
Wonderful. Doesn't she look happy?
Yes.
Yes, very happy. When you're told to obey, you should not be angry and saying, no, I'm not going to do it.
Children, obey your parents in the Lord.
Sister Talk.
Whatever works for you, do it.
A sister is a gift to the heart, a friend to the spirit, a golden thread to the meaning of life.
If the leader position is there, right, left, center, I have decided.
Yes.
This is the route that I am going to take.
On Sister Talk,
It is your responsibility to control your body.
we engage on social issues, life challenges, economic empowerment.
An empowered woman is a beautiful woman.
We share various experiences through humor.
Is the anniversary his or is it for both of you?
Godly and biblical values.
Character is formed by the knowledge of knowing Christ.
Let's walk the Dada journey together.
That mothering grace begins to flow in the church when the pastor's wife is given her place and is respected.
Sister Talk, Thursdays 8 to 9 p.m.
Welcome back to the Morning Digest, a show that comes to you every Thursday morning from the Elevate Studios in the city of Nairobi. And today we are talking about financial matters, and we have a guest in the show, Annette James, and she's talking to us about the now, the hereafter, and the future, especially on matters retirement. And we've talked quite a bit, and I'm sure if you've been following, there's a thing or two that you have learned. So Annette, back to the discussion. When we think about retirement, first of all, it's something that many people do not want to talk about because they think retirement is like a death sentence. Could you talk about that? Because many times, I don't know, let's just begin there before we follow the discussion further.
Okay, retirement, if I can use an analogy from the Bible, you remember when Pharaoh had a dream, and it's only Joseph who could interpret the dream. Yeah. And the dream talked about 7 fat cows, and then 7 lean cows. And then the 7 lean cows eating the 7 fat cows. Yes. That's really retirement if you don't plan for it.
Please repeat that as you tell the viewer.
There are 7 fat cows, and then he also dreamt of 7 lean cows. Yes. And then in the dream, the 7 lean cows were eating the 7 fat cows. Yeah. Which to him, I think that's what the question was, what's the meaning of this? Why are the 7 lean cows eating the 7 fat cows? And these are cows. That means you're eating yourself, if you really think about it. Yeah. And if you look at the interpretation of the dream, Joseph was telling Pharaoh that there are going to be 7 years of abundance, and then there are going to be 7 years of famine. Yes. And unfortunately, abundance came before famine. Wow. So what you do during abundance time will dictate how you actually live during the lean years. Right. And let me tell you, life is in seasons. Yeah. There'll be seasons of abundance, and there'll be seasons when of lack. Yeah. And that's why Paul said that I have learned how to abase and how to abound. Yeah. That means in those lean years, what do you do? And in those abundant years, what do you do? Yeah. So right now, when you're working is when, according to you, you're productive. That means you're getting a salary on a monthly basis. But you remember Joseph was telling Pharaoh, what we need to do is set aside 20%. Yeah. Joseph talked of 20%, a fifth. A fifth is really 20%, yeah? So why don't you take the same from the word of God and apply it to your own life? Right. Ensure that every month you're saving at least 20%, and it is possible. And let me tell you why. During this corona period, people have been forced to take pay cuts, some even 50%. Yeah. Others 70. Others 70. Yeah. But back then, had you told somebody, kindly save 20% of your salary, he would have told you how. Yeah. But now the same question I'd like to ask them right now is, how are you living on the 30%? Yeah. And that's really a preview to retirement, if you think about it. A preview. Because in pension, we talk about something we call the income replacement ratio. Income replacement ratio is basically, when I retired, I used to earn 100,000. Now, from what I have accumulated in my pension scheme, what I have been saving, because in a pension scheme, ideally in most institutions, You save a percentage, and then your employer also contributes a percentage.
But that is if someone has a pension scheme.
Yes, we'll come to somebody who does not have a
Okay.
pension scheme.
Okay.
So you find that sometimes, especially in parastatals, they have very good contribution rates, the government. So you find somebody contributes 10% and the employer does 20%.
Whoa.
If you really think about it, it's 10% of your basic pay.
Yeah.
So you may have 100,000, but maybe your basic pay is 40,000.
Yeah.
The rest are allowances and all that. So out of 40,000, you save 4,000 shillings. Then the employer adds 8,000 shillings.
That's
it's
good.
It's
That's a
double.
good deal.
It's double. So that means you're saving 12,000 shillings per month.
Yeah. For the rest of your working life.
If you think about it, the employer, your pension scheme has given you a head start of 30% of your basic,
Yeah.
not your gross,
Yeah.
basic. So that means that out of your 40,000 that you're earning as the basic pay,
Yes.
you have 12,000 shillings. That means the only money you don't have is 28,000.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so you save that. So you have 30%, and then you have, when they invest your money on average, you'll get minimum 10%,
Yeah.
between 10% to 15% return,
Yeah, which is like
which gives you
1,200.
another 10% on top of the 30.
Okay.
But now, because of, you see, most people, when they're looking at their retirement, they're looking at the gross figure.
Yeah.
They're 100.
They're not looking
They're
at
forgetting that pension is pegged on your basic.
Okay. Okay.
So there's a 60,000 which is not there.
All right.
We are tying it to
Which
your
you can
basic, which
use
is
or
40.
waste.
Yes.
Yeah.
So by the time you retire, remember this 40,000 was 40%.
Yeah.
Out of the 40%, that means I'm giving you 30% of the 40%, which is about 12,000 shillings.
Yeah.
So assuming that you just maintain that that means your income replacement ratio is between 10 to 20% of your 100,000.
Yeah.
Because of also the investment aspect of it. Because pension money has to be invested.
Yes.
So you find that somebody used to retire with used to earn 100,000, and now what is coming to them as pension is 30,000 shillings, or even 10,000.
Yeah.
So that means, how do you adjust your life from 100,000
To 30.
to 30, or even 10,000 shillings?
And God forbid you're living in a rented house, probably.
Exactly.
You have a car that needs to be fueled.
Exactly.
You have probably
So
a
that's
lot.
what we are basically saying. When it comes to retirement, you have to be intentional about it. Now, when you come back to the analogy of the cows, unaona kwamba uzee unakula ujana. So you're really eating yourself. And how are you eating yourself right now during the years of abundance?
Wow.
So the question is, you have to be intentional about what you want to earn. And a lot of pension institutions already have even calculators in the online platform where you can actually put in a figure and project and actually project into the future that if I save this amount of money, this is what I'm likely to earn by the time I retire.
Wow.
So you can find that if you want to maintain your 100,000 shillings and you key it into those calculators, they can be able to tell you how much to start saving now. And this is where, and when it comes to pension, age is a very big factor.
Definitely.
Because the earlier you start,
The
better.
better.
But even for that person who still has 1 year to retirement, it's never too late.
But now, let's talk about the people that do not have a steady income, but they do have an income. So how do they get themselves into a pension scheme that can help them in those days, because not everybody is on a pay slip?
So we have individual personal pension plans, which are registered by the Retirement Benefits Authority. And these individual personal pension plans also give you an opportunity, maybe where you're working, they don't have a pension scheme.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop you
From getting
saving,
into one.
yes, from getting into one. So you just go, if you go to the RBA website and key in individual personal pension plan, you'll find a list of various institutions that actually have.
Are they credible?
Yes, they are credible. So because if they've been licensed by Retirement Benefits Authority, it means the due diligence has been done.
Okay.
So you're safe. And one of the things I must say is that pension is among the safest investments you can ever have.
Are you able to withdraw it before?
No.
It's until...
But
it's not like a circle.
But okay, the individual personal pension you can withdraw because it's your money. But the ones which are done by the institutions, like your organization sets up, you can only withdraw when you resign from that place of work, and you can't withdraw everything.
Yeah.
But we normally encourage, because retirement is for
those sunset years.
Yes, leave the money there.
All
Forget about it. until you get to the earliest retirement age, which is 50, and the latest, if you're working for government, is 60, or based on your pension scheme, if we have something called a trust deed and rules that shows the rules of the scheme. So it gives the early retirement age of 50 and then the retirement age of either 55, 60, or even 65 for some people.
So if you are 45, please don't think that it's too early to even 30. I mean, if you get a nice job, God has blessed you with a good job, a business, it's high time that you began thinking of what are you saving for the future. You're watching us from Elevate TV. Please send your comments on Facebook and please share. So let's talk about the pitfalls of investment, because even as we talk about, you know, retirement and in your active years, you want to see, I'm not eating from hand to mouth, right? I want to see, what have I done with the money, the percentage that you're talking about that I can put aside? And in fact, before you answer that question, you said COVID was an early retirement of some sort?
Yeah, it was giving you a preview to what retirement can actually look like.
Can you imagine? So I realized, true story, because I wasn't going to work, all the clothes I have in my closet and the shoes, I didn't need them.
You didn't need
I
them.
just needed 2 jeans, 2 t-shirts, and I can work from my seat. And I'm like, if I could quantify these clothes to some income and invest somewhere, I would actually be smiling all the way to the bank without going into details. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because we need to think, what are some of the places we waste money? Maybe let's talk about the money wasters and then we come to the pitfalls. Some of the things,
So the challenge I'd give to the viewers is, go to your house, probably this Saturday.
Yes.
And take stock of everything that you have. If you can even quantify it in terms of how much you spent, if you can remember, just write it down. Then ask yourself whether you need all those things that you need.
Wow.
Whether you need all those clothes, whether you need all those shoes, whether you need that furniture. Do you need, because you know the interesting thing I've seen right now,
the delivery guy.
Most people have got a TV in their room, a TV in the sitting room, a TV in their children's room.
Can you imagine?
So I'm asking myself, on average, let's even say on average, one television is 30,000.
Yeah.
And of course, now the one for the living room could be 60 or 90, depending on where your income level and where you stay. So let's take that the one in the living room is 60. The one in your room could be 60 as well. And then the one in your children's room, it's not too big, maybe let's say 40.
Yeah.
That's 120.
Yeah.
Let's add 40,000. That's 160,000.
Yeah.
So with the 160,000, let's remove the one for the living room. Yeah, and say 80,000. What can you do with 80,000 shillings?
You can start a business. Actually, some people can build an empire out of that with time, given time.
Exactly. You can even go into this Emakiba. The list is 3,000. They've not said you cannot put in 80,000 into the Emakiba and earn interest.
Yes.
So it's just taking stock of what you have at home and asking yourself whether you need all these things. Anytime you want to buy something, ask yourself, do I need it? What value is it going to bring to me?
Yes.
Because you know, if we can define if we can define assets and liabilities, assets is what brings money to your pocket.
Yeah.
Liabilities, and I always tell the men, except your wives, is what takes money out of your pocket.
Wow.
So ask yourself, whatever it is I'm buying, is it going to cost me to maintain it? Because if you have 3
accessorize, others say
yes,
you accessorize.
Sometimes I like to take a walk around our estate and I find guys, some are renting, some have bought the house, it's under mortgage, and they have 3 cars. So when I walk, I just smile because I'm just thinking, when I see them going to work, they get into 1 car.
And the 2 are parked.
The 2 are parked. A car depreciates. This is capital this is capital which has been tied.
Yeah.
Just there.
So you'd advise them to sell
So my
one?
question is, why did you buy those cars?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where the pitfalls of investments come in. Why are you doing what you're doing? Even if you're going to buy land, why are you buying that piece of land?
Yeah.
Let me take an example of Safaricom. Let's assume that somebody bought land with 100,000 then.
Yes.
Today, maybe because that was like probably 2010, 2009, 2010, thereabout. somebody bought land then. This is 11 years later. The most that land may have appreciated to, let's even be generous, is probably $500,000. By today.
10 years later.
Somebody with 100,000 bought Safaricom shares at 2 shillings. Today they are worth 2 million shillings. I'm not saying land is not good, it is good. But the question is, why are you buying the asset that you're buying? That's why for me, when I think about investments, I always say, be a strategic investor. It's not every, you know, like right now, there are so many institutions which, in fact, it's good we're here right at Kenya Cinema. Out here, that's why they park their buses every Saturday to take you to look at a piece of land. And like a friend of mine in finance normally says, they take you, then they tell you, this is a piece of land. And then they tell you...
In the middle of somewhere.
In the middle of... Then they tell you... SGR itapita hapa. But there is no station to show that the land you're buying, I mean, there'll be some activity, you can set up shops, the land will quickly appreciate. Inapita too.
There's no human...
There's no human. So there's no difference between you, like my friend normally says, there's no difference between you and the person who has bought land close to the airport, where they say Kenya Airways, inapita hapa. Hakuna tofauti. So the question is, this piece of land you're buying, or this investment that you want to make, what is your target? What do you want it to do for you?
So before, because we don't want to make it seem like land is valueless, there are actually people that have bought land and it became a blessing in disguise. So without a lot of understanding of money markets, what other form of investment, like you've said 10 years down the line, the land can only bring you $500,000, which is true. On many occasions, someone sells it out of desperation. So how can you put that money in a place that the practicalities now? Someone out there is watching and they have maybe 100,000 that they feel, you call it Emakiba? I think I need to go and look at it more and understand.
What I would advise is something we call diversification. You can't take an African man out of land. So what I would say is have a percentage of assets that you would like to have. In fact, the best thing I would encourage most people, if you go to the retirement benefits website, they have given an allocation in terms of assets and how your investments, your pension should be allocated on those assets. So they've said something like land should not be more than 30%. So in your portfolio as an individual, why not use the same and say, in my assets, list down your assets, all the assets that you have.
What do you mean when you say it should not be more than 30%?
You see, assuming that you're in a pension scheme that has accumulated money and say they have 300 million. This 300 million, when the fund manager is investing it, they're not supposed to take that 300 million and put 100% of it in land. Because we have people who are exiting. Either they are resigning, some have passed on, or some are retiring. So there should be at least 5% which is held in cash, and even if it's in cash, it's put in what we call a call account. It's earning interest, but just like the name suggests, it can be recalled at any time when you need the money. Then they've said you can put money in shares up to a maximum of 70%. But even if it is 70%, shares are very volatile. You can make a lot of money and make losses. So it means that, and then they said for land, you can put at a maximum of 30%. Because you see, to sell land takes time. Then fixed deposits, now like the treasury bills and treasury bonds which the government offers, you can, if you like, you can take the 300 million and invest it 100%, all of it in, because this one is guaranteed. There's no risk attached to it. So if you take the same concept for that the retirement benefits has given you in terms of allocating your assets and apply it to your own life, you're bound to live a more balanced life. Because you know that at any time, when I need money, maybe I bought KCB shares, I bought NCBA shares, I've bought, say, Safaricom shares, I have Kenya Power shares. I can go and sell part of it. Like the example I've used of the person who bought 50,000 shares. Today they are worth 2 million. Actually, Safaricom is at 41 shillings. They are worth 2 million. Now, if I need a piece of land, that piece of land of yours, which is now $500,000 today, I can just take out $500,000 from my shares, sell part of my shares that are worth $500,000, come to you and buy the land. So I still have my shares. I still have land. So you see, you've diversified.
It's double gain for you.
You've not put all your eggs in one basket. So when you're thinking of investments, don't only buy something because your friend bought. That's where knowledge comes in. And so things like Emma Kiba, the information is out there. It's actually free. Go and Google, read about it. Even Caroline Mutoko did an interview around it. Go back to YouTube, look for it, because she invited somebody from Emma Kiba to come and talk about it.
Okay.
So listen, get the information, try. And when you're trying out something, you don't put in a lot of money.
True.
Because maybe right now I'm talking about Safaricom and somebody's thinking, I'll go to my SACCO, I take 100,000.
And then I deposit.
And then I go and buy Safaricom shares and expect it to appreciate in the same manner. Not necessarily. Yeah. So I'm just giving it as an example because somebody probably who invests in Safaricom, like today if I was to buy Safaricom shares for myself, if I'm to add on to what I have, I'll think of it about my daughter's school fees.
Yes.
She's in class 8 right now, and so whatever it is from Form 1 to Form 4 will be covered. But university is where you need a lot of money. So I can say I'm buying shares today. By the time she gets to another 5 years, it will have appreciated maybe from 41 shillings to 60 shillings. So with whatever I buy right now, I can say I'm targeting this investment for my daughter's university. And then we also have insurance firms which are now providing the education covers. Take it for your child and say for the next 4 years, so that at least you have a head start in life. You don't know what will happen the next 4-5 years.
Wow, I'm appreciating the information. Thank you so much, David Malombe, you're watching, and you say that there's great wisdom here. And there's a lady here called Millionaire Rachel Morithi. Wonderful name. I mean, you're saying you love the conversation. And I think, considering you're calling yourself a millionaire, I think there's a lot you're learning on how you can use this information to make more millions and save for the future. And now, tell me, like we said, many people, when they think of retirement, it's like a death sentence because if I was living on average spending, maybe I have this lifestyle, let me just say that. Let me not go into how much I spend or someone would spend. And you are thrown into a world of no cash. There's no cash at hand. How do you manage? Because whenever you do your curriculum training, I'm sure you touch a bit on how do you psychologically shift from an active working life to a life where there's no money coming at the end of the month and you still need to look good, eat, live in a nice place?
And that's a very difficult question because we've done a lot of pre-retirement trainings and we have met people who are 2 years to retirement. And when you look at the man or the woman who's now being forced to think about retirement, sometimes they feel helpless, just like you said. But
sometimes very.
Retirement Benefits Authority are doing an awesome job. They provide pre-retirement training.
Okay.
And they do it once a month in Nairobi, every end of the month. So for institutions and individuals, you can get in touch with them to get their calendar and know when they do the training. Because you have to be prepared psychologically for retirement. And it's not only financially. Because remember, let me give the example. I was reading a story about the late President Daniel Arap Moi, that the day he handed over power to Kibaki, there was a chopper waiting for him.
I saw it.
So he was taken all the way to Kabarak, and the people who are waiting to receive him this time around,
family.
Sio wananchi.
Family.
Ni family.
Yes.
In fact, wananchi had turned. Now they were saying Kibaki Tosha.
Yes.
But before it was Moi. So hapo sio kwa mama yako.
Aki.
So what you need to realize is,
Lord.
You can imagine.
Allow me to laugh.
He had a schedule. Bwana President, this is where you're going. Sasa hakuna.
It's called a reality check.
And you can't tell me that the late president lacked in terms of money.
No.
But psychologically, you're affected. Because nobody is calling you to ask you about important issues.
Yes.
You can even be seeing the country going in a wrong direction, but nobody is consulting you anymore.
You can do.
And yet you have years of experience. As a president, no one is asking you questions.
Wow.
In fact, I remember his PA said people used to reach out to him only when they wanted political goodwill from him or they wanted to be financed in their political ambitions. So people only look at you in terms of how relevant you are to them.
To their lives.
And any time they call you Mr. President or they bring gifts to you, they're bringing gifts to their office, not to you.
To secure their future.
No, they're bringing gifts to the office. The day you vacate, the person who comes in will be receiving the gifts you are receiving.
I mean, you've just said a very powerful
So psychologically,
statement.
You have to be prepared for what is going to happen. And we normally say during the pre-retirement trainings, if there's anything you can do, ensure that you're very close to your family. especially for the men.
Pre-retirement.
Ensure that you keep your family close. And the reason why I'm saying especially men is, for me as a lady, when I'm pregnant, I'm carrying my child in the womb for 9 months.
Yeah.
I'm already bonding.
Yeah.
Then the child will suckle at my breast for the next 1 year.
Sometimes 3, depending.
So I'm already 2 years ahead of the man.
Yeah.
Who takes the child to school?
Mom.
Mom. who does a child run to when they're unwell?
Oh my goodness.
Even if you're the one who's removing money to pay school fees, it is a lady, your wife, who goes with the child to school to pay. So the child is seeing the woman paying.
You know why I'm laughing? Please, I have to say this. There's a young kid who is close to us, one of our friends. So every time you ask them, Yongo, nani alinunua? Mom. And daddy is there, yes. And daddy is good and loving and but everything is mom. So what you're saying is true.
Yeah. So you see, psychologically, this child has been seeing it's my mom who has been here.
Yeah.
I remember we did a training in Mumias, and this gentleman told us that one of the challenges he experienced is that at retirement, the children used to call the mother. Then when they finish, they say, Salimia Daddy.
Oh, Lord.
Yet his phone is working.
Oh, my.
So he decided now, so that they can be
balanced,
we'll have one phone in this house.
Wow.
Wakituma M-Pesa, pia mi naona ni ngapi imetumwa.
Exactly.
Because maybe the children have sent 10,000, then they say, take 2,000 and give Daddy.
And that's so real.
So you see, the people who are affected the most at retirement are the men.
Are the men.
Because they were out hunting and providing
for the family.
For the family. So now when they've come back to rest, they feel irrelevant. First of all,
and disconnected.
First of all, we normally identify ourselves based on what we do. If I meet you today, Anne, I'll ask you, Anne, your name, how are you? The next question I'm likely to ask you,
how are the kids?
Aside from, if I've met you for the first time, I can't assume you have
definitely.
children. I'll ask you, what do you do?
What do you do?
So if you tell me you are a retiree, I'm not likely to give you audience. But if you tell me I'm the CEO of such and such a company, now to me your relevance and importance.
All of a sudden you begin to warm up to me.
Yes, I warm up to you if I had a business card. Now would you give a retiree a business card?
Oh Lord.
So that psychological aspect has to be dealt with, not only the financial aspect. Because when it comes to retirement, we have been drilling and drilling, save, yes, we save. But
I'm enjoying
the psychological aspect of retirement is very important. And right now, there's nothing so serious as mental health at the moment.
Yeah.
We need to actually prepare people for the eventualities.
Yeah, they say
not only financially, but also in terms of your psychological.
In the last 1 month, there have been over 480
suicides. And there was one yesterday for the guy who killed the wife and then killed himself.
I think we need to go back also to the place of prayer and pray for the nation of Kenya, pray for families. Despite all that you're going through, God is there and He has woken you up.
And there's
someone who's running away from death. They are fighting
to live.
Or, they're on oxygen or something. So if you find yourself alive and you have problems, please don't end your life. Just give it up to the Lord. Please, you need to give us your parting shot. This has been awesome.
I think my parting shot would be, please be yourself. Know where you are. And even if you feel like you're in trouble, you're in the pit, stop digging. And how do I say stop digging? Stop taking debts, cut back on your expenditure, and live life on your own terms. Don't let anybody dictate how you're going to live your life.
Yes.
Cut back. There's nothing wrong with scaling down.
Yeah.
Even if you have to move houses, it's a temporary arrangement.
Yeah.
But now focus into the future and tell yourself, this is the least and the lowest I'll ever go. And begin to make informed and intentional decisions. Because growth is intentional. Wherever it is you want to go, because I can't sit here and say I want to go to Mombasa and I don't either get a ticket, an air ticket, or I go and get the bus ticket and actually go. So if you're saying you're going to Mombasa, begin to make that journey now.
Today.
Cut back on your expenditure. Whatever is not necessary, take it out of the way. And you don't have to answer to anyone that, we used to meet on this day, what's happening? Just tell them.
How did you come?
How did you come? Why did you sell your car? No, sell it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with walking.
Yeah.
It's even cheaper.
Yeah.
And take that money for your car and
you
invest
get double benefits.
Yes, and invest it. And know that one day that investment will actually pay back. You'll buy your car cash and still have something that has remained.
You have so much, Annette, that I don't know. But I am really grateful, and I believe the viewer has learned a lot on investment. There are many things that she has said. The good thing is you can always go back on social media and follow on the show. And of course, remember, she said document from today. everything you spend. Get knowledge regarding the money markets and how you can invest. It's been awesome, my dear viewer. Thank you for watching us from Elevate TV Live. God bless you until we meet again on Thursday, a time like this.